What trends are you seeing in the market, and where do you see some of this technology moving forward in the future?
Yeah, so there's some interesting stuff going on at the moment, and some interesting trends that we're seeing in the market. Firstly, from an optics perspective, there seems to be a resurgence of shortwave infrared. So shortwave tends to sit, if you look at the IR spectrum, it sits just below the sort of daylight electro-optical space, but then right at the top end of the infrared space. Typically, if you're viewing a SWIR camera, the image is more akin to a monochrome daylight camera. You get a very crisp image than it is to a traditional thermal camera. And because of where SWIR sits in that wave, the wavelength that SWIR sits at is very good at penetrating mist, fog, high humidity and moisture. Historically, SWIR has kind of been a capability that was reserved for the military space when long wave IR and mid wave IR went more commercial. SWIR didn't really, which meant that the cost was somewhat prohibitive for a lot of the requirements. But what we're now seeing is a reduction in the cost of SWIR, and it's becoming more available, more readily available. And this is quite interesting for us. So we're starting to see a lot of tenders calling for SWIR, where people are really switching on to this capability. Secondly to that, there seems to be a general transition from providing straightforward pan and tilt systems with a daylight and a thermal camera as a relatively simple system towards this multi-sensor, multi-spectral platform. Fundamentally, there are many sensors and many capabilities on offer. In the daylight space, we've got HD, 4K, traditional surveillance level video. We've got ultra low light video, and then in the thermal space, we've got long wave IR, mid wave IR, and now SWIR coming along as well. We're seeing this transition towards these big multi-sensor platforms where people aren't just seeing what's daylight for daytime and cooled midwave for sort of nighttime or detection purposes. They want these toolbox kind of approaches. So we're delivering platforms with long-range daylight, long-range cooled thermal, long-range SWIR, and then shorter-range situational awareness cameras. So when you're, say, zoomed in on the vessel at 25 kilometers, you've got a secondary camera that's providing a wider field of view. So close imagery of this particular boat, but now you see the rest of the harbour too. And you take, for example, if you've got a fairly clear day, your primary sensors may be the daylight and then the cooled thermal. But if it's early in the morning and the fog's rolled in, then your primary sensor is probably going to be that SWIR. But by taking this multi-sensor, multi-spectral approach, we can deliver platforms that are holistic to the holistic and environmentally agnostic. So no matter what conditions the user sees, there is a sensor that is fit for purpose for that point in time. And alongside that, the platforms are becoming less about the optics themselves and more about the systems and capabilities that the optics can drive. So, we're seeing a huge increase in additional modules. So things like putting long-range illuminators, so infrared illuminators, laser illuminators, long-range white light illuminators, laser rangefinders, target designators, dazzlers. I mean, we've just started looking at long-range hailers and acoustic devices, RF effector systems. It's quickly changing or transitioning from a pan and tilt system with some optics to provide video, and now it's more a complete surveillance system that's fully integrated, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing some of those technologies coming through, and it sounds like you and your team are going to be pretty busy integrating some of this technology. So that's great. Yeah, thanks, Matt, for your insight there. Very, very interesting. If you're also interested in learning some more information, take a look at our website, particularly our new knowledge base, which we will be covering some of these topics in more detail. Or if you're just interested in talking to us, get in touch through the website below, and one of our sales team, I'm sure, will be happy to talk to you about your requirements. Thanks for watching.